Mr. Triplett, have you personally prepared for the coming war? And if so, how are you prepared both spiritually, physically, and mentally?
Well, first of all, spiritually, you want to seek the Lord, seek righteousness, without which no one will survive. I read that. That is a direct quote. I don't remember the exact passage, what chapter and verse, but it says that. Seek the Lord, seek righteousness, without which no one will survive. So spiritually, you want to be seeking the Lord, and you don't want to be sinning, and then you'll have the Lord's protection. So spiritually, just draw close to the Lord, and physically, I've thought about it at a great extent. I believe we're going to see the power grid go down, so I have prepared for generators. I have fuel to run generators. Then I realized fuel could be hard to get, so I bought some solar equipment to try to have power without fuel. I believe that we have examples in the Bible about the 10 virgins. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. And they were all had oil in their lamps, waiting for the bridegroom to come. But there was a tarrying, and it was taking longer than they thought, and they fell asleep. But it says when the bridegroom came, the 5 foolish virgins were running low on the oil in their lamps, but the wise virgins had extra vessels of oil for their lamps. So I have stockpiles of fuel. I believe fuel, it says spare not the oil and the wine in Revelation 6, the black horse, the rider with the scales. We know that war interrupts the supply. I watched the bombing of Yugoslavia taking place, and there were 700,000 refugees walking out of the war-torn, bombed area, seeking to save their lives instead of being blown up. And while they were walking, I was wondering why they were all walking. They looked well-dressed and prosperous, nice clothes. I changed the channel when an ad came on, and on the other channel they were reporting that the gasoline in Belgrade was $25 a gallon, if you could find any. And we saw a problem with that when Rita Katrina took place. The cars that all have about the same amount of range of a full tank of fuel reached the same gas stations a couple hundred miles out of New Orleans, and the cars were lined up for a long ways at gas stations that had signs out, sorry, we're out of fuel, because everybody wanted to fill up at the same stations. They all ran out at the same time. Extra fuel is a good thing to store up. I have clothing, because you don't want to be cold and you don't want to be hungry. And so physically, you can be prepared. I bought extra socks, extra t-shirts, extra underwear, extra boots, extra jackets, clothes, long underwear. I've actually been in the Jarbidge Wilderness at 9,400 feet elevation, spent the night in a military tent with no heat. Later that morning, a rancher lady came up with some donuts and shared with us that her temperature at her ranch that night was 4 degrees. So I have slept in a tent high in the mountains with a temperature of 4 degrees at night, and I was comfortable. I had all my clothes on in my sleeping bag and my long johns on, and I only took my boots off. I had my thermal coveralls on as well, and I got in the sleeping bag with everything, but I slept with no heat, 4 degrees. The Bible says, what are you going to do if a brother or sister comes to your door cold and hungry? Well, you want to have stockpiles of food. I've gone into great lengths on that and other little answers to questions where I tell you to stockpile what? Wheat, barley, beans, rice. I have a lot of food. I have a lot of food stored up. I'm ready to take care of a lot of people, not just concerned about myself. I have ammunition. I have guns. I found a verse that I know pertains to that in Luke 22, verse 36. He said to them, now if you have a purse, take it, and likewise a script. But he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. And they said to the Lord, Behold, here are 2 swords. And he said to them, It is enough. So he reckoned that among the translators, for these things concerning me have an end. It's about the end. And so having a sword today is like having a gun. But if it says sell your coat and buy one, I thought about it. You don't, if you need something and you don't have the resources to buy it, and you look around and you see what's laying around here that I don't need, and you take that and you sell it to get the money to go buy what you do need. And so when it says if you don't have a sword, sell your coat and buy one, that confirmed to me that my understanding is correct. That in Matthew 24, Jesus says, and he's answering the question, tell us when will this happen? He says, take a lesson from the fig tree, watch for the branches to be tender and the leaves to come out. He says, when you see these things, you know that it's near, that summer is near. It's at the door. So this is going to happen. This day of great disaster that's coming suddenly, it's going to happen when summer's near. That's June. Now, those are the longest days of the year, and it's hot. You're headed into hot August nights. You're not going to need the coat. Sell the coat and buy the sword, or buy a gun. You're going to need a gun because we may have a period of time where the grid goes down, the internet goes down, law enforcement will not be able to do its job. There will be every man for himself. You need to be able to protect yourself and your loved ones. You need to be armed. You need to have what's called a peacekeeper. The peacekeeper is a Colt revolver. It's called the peacekeeper because peace don't happen. You have to, or it's called the peacemaker. You have to make peace. It don't just make itself. And so the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. You can be blessed if you have a sword or a gun, because you will be able to make peace and keep peace and order in the amount of the little clique or whatever that you're associating with, your people and your little community. You can keep anybody from coming in and being mean, and anybody from raping, pillaging, plundering. The man that's got the gun is going to have to be answered to. Everyone's going to be civil with each other, as they should be. And we need to be a peacemaker. You need to be equipped to make peace, and that's how you do it. You have a gun. Now, I was supposed to answer the question about physically prepared, spiritually prepared, and how else? Mentally prepared? Well, I think mentally prepared is the best way to do that is to listen to this information. Because the more clearer your understanding is about what kind of future we're headed into, the better you can be mentally equipped and prepared to successfully be a survivor. God bless you. Thanks for listening.